Hey everybody, welcome back to the Miser's Guide to Evony. In this Miser and Genghis real estate video, we're going to be looking at feature 84AX. I just called it that because I put a bunch of letters and numbers down, and that will now identify this account. And if you do want to have a private discussion with the account user about the future of this account, then all you have to do is send a message to me on the miser evony at gmail.com. I'll get that message forwarded to the account user, and if they want to talk about whatever you guys talk about in these private conversations that I'm not a part of, then I'm sure they'll contact you. Let's talk about the details of this account. First of all, it's a K34 account on a server that is somewhere between 650 and 700, meaning it is fairly new, but not brand new. If you look around the map, and I'm not going to do it here because you'll see all the keep names and it's really hard to blur it all. But if you do look around on the server, you're going to see a lot of keeps that are in the 20s or so, and there's not a whole lot that are in the 30s. So for this keep to be almost 35 is pretty high up on the charts for this server. At 400 million power, it's doing pretty good. I think it was top 15 or so Monarch ranking on the server. So it's in a pretty good position right now. And most of that power, yes, is from troop count, but it doesn't mean that the construction power and the tech power are that far behind for where it's at. It's in pretty good shape for a Keep 34. With the other stuff that I want to look at, because it kind of gets overlooked a lot, with other things like prestige. Prestige is pretty important for long-term development. It's really important to have as many subordinate cities as possible. This player's in the top 25 or so of prestige, which puts them at a duke, which means they get 8 subs. So that's pretty good position, and there's plenty of stamina, as you'll see later, so that you can move up on the rankings. So it's in a pretty good position. Right now, I'm not going to click on the VIP because then I have to blur the name and everything, but I recorded it as 1.73 million through VIP 15, which means it's pretty darn close to VIP 16. My account's nowhere near that. I'm barely VIP 15, and that's just from being on an ancient server, and every day you get your points, and I'm barely VIP 15. So this player is well beyond what I will probably ever be in terms of VIP level. What else? What can we talk about next? Let's talk about the consumables. So you look at the top, it says 19.5 million, food 16 million. Yeah, those are pretty small numbers, but if you click inside of them, there are a lot of boxes that are still able to be opened up. And I would say, and what I wrote down here is there's over 2 billion food, there's over 1 billion of each of the other resources in terms of boxed resources. So resources that you can use at any time. And not to mention that the production of this account is pretty decent, actually. In the 2 millions, almost 3 million per hour in some of these areas, and I don't even know. Let me check if the buffs are applied. Yeah, so that's pretty good for a Keep 34. They're in a good position in terms of production, so there's some sustainability there. Looks like a lot of these in-city tiles are set up, so you're not going to be resource starved like crazy for having only the single account if that's what you have. There's a lot of other consumables too. There's 50,000 gems here, but in the inventory, there's another 400,000 right there. There's over 200,000 stamina. I mean, here's over 200,000 stamina just from the 100s, and there's more. So there's quite a bit of stamina. Over 1 billion gold, and the speed ups are not too shabby either. And considering how much stamina you have, you can get a lot more. So there's 4,400 regular speed ups, like days of speed ups. There's about 500 of construction. There's about 300 of research, almost 7,000 of training, almost 8,000 of healing. So quite a bit of consumables there. The alliance is top 5 on the server. It's not the biggest alliance, but it is an active alliance. So you could stay here. You could move up. I mean, the player here is top 15 on the server, so there is room to move around to other alliances. If you're not necessarily going to stay in this one, it's not a problem. You want to be in the most active alliance that you could be. But the one that they're in right now is pretty active, it seems. The servers versus server ranking of this server is in the top 500, which is pretty average for the age of this server. It is in the 600 to 650 to 700, and it's in the top 500. So it's doing better than its number. But you know, there are server mergers and so on. So anyway, it's slightly above average. There's, you know, it's not a dead server. It's an active server, and it's slightly above average. So it's not a bad place to be. Other assets that are relevant and worth mentioning, the civilization treasures. Some of them are activated already. So I'll just click through. You can see the green text here to find out which ones are activated already. There are a bunch of subs as well. Some of them are pretty valuable, and then some of them are temporary. So you have an Epic Europe, you have a Legendary Korea, a Legendary Arabia, an Excellent Arabia, 2 Excellent Koreas, and 2 Excellent Americas. So some of these are pretty short term, some of them are long term, or some of them are situational, but regardless, you have 8, and they're not terrible either. So, you know, there's some switching around to go, but it's not a bad place to start if you were to be, you know, the user of this account. The other stuff we could look at, let's look at the dragons. There are 2 unlocked dragons. You have the Celtic Demon at level 8, on its way to level 9. You have the Fafnir Dragon that is very, very close to being level 7. So those ones are pretty good. The Spirit Beasts, they have a ways to go in terms of experience. So they're all like level 5, level 4, pretty much level 5, except this guy at the end. But their rarity is nearly complete. So they, that one's at the highest quality. This one is 1 away from being at the highest quality. Just requires some gems. And you definitely have the gems to make that happen if you want to. All right, let's take a quick look at the generals. So I'll stop at some of the ones that are long-term because, yeah, Spartacus, you're not going to worry about. Sanada Yakamura, you don't really care about. Even Sherman, everything is kind of but there are some that are going to be long-term. Like the Oleg is going to be your stables officer. You're going to keep him for a very long time. Amir is good to have around. Queen Jindiak is always going to be useful. You've got this guy, 30%. Yeah, it's not terrible. But I think there are some better choices down there. Okay, this guy is a duty officer that you will keep around. Shajar you'll keep around. So there's quite a few. I mean, there's a lot of fodder generals that you don't care about so much that you'll probably just dismiss for the chests at some point. But then there are some other ones, like Hannibal here is useful. Minamoto is pretty great. We've got Trajan is great to keep around. Martinez. So Electro's pretty good. So there's quite a few generals to choose from to go different routes. You got Simeon. Yeah, so there are a lot of options in terms of the general. They're not all established. And, you got Tomiras. So, yeah. Being straightforward here, these generals are not developed. They have a long way to go. But that is also very normal for a Keep 34. Really, at Keep 35 is when you really start to buckle down and focus on working on your equipment, working on your generals, and so on. And this player is almost there. So they're at the point where it gets actually fun. You could skip all of the growth, if only, right? If only you could just skip right to Keep 35 and get going there where it actually becomes fun and you get to start to consider PvP and perfecting that. Yeah, if only there were a way. So anyway, moving on here, let's say a final note. If you want to have a private discussion with this account user about the future of their account, all you have to do is send a message to themiserevony@gmail.com with the subject title Feature 84AX. And you'll notice those little dragon eggs at the bottom. There's 2 blue and 3 that are grayed out. So I rated this at 2 dragon eggs out of 5 dragon eggs. And if you want to learn more about what that means as a general kind of thing, then you can take a look at the ranking video that I'm thinking I'll get done in a day or two. So you'll be able to learn more. But that's about where it's sitting in terms of its development and values. So there we go. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.